Welcome everybody to Razed Typical.
Yeah.
We have wonderful guests this week.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
You want to introduce them for me?
So this week we have the great Tom Rebbie, the president and CEO of Philadelphia Toboggan Company. I met Tom. I was calling him one day in the middle of a snowstorm, and I said, "Tom, hi, is this the president of Philadelphia Toboggan?" He goes, "Yes, he is." And I said, "Do you answer your own phone?" So that's how we became friends. He's been the president since 1991, which is pretty crazy.
Yeah.
And
we had the first caller.
Our home phone.
I thought it was Joe Biden, but it wasn't.
Probably not.
Okay, it's not.
It's probably someone asking.
But I wanted to let you know that Tom and I have been very good friends. We just went to IAPA, and they have like roller coaster convention, and
it's an amusement convention. And it just there's many roller coaster companies there. We just happen to be the oldest.
And then they also made the Phoenix and the Twister with the coaster cars.
Yeah.
And I talked about that at school. Shout out to Holy Rosary. They're amazing. Sure. So, ladies and gentlemen, please give it. I also want to give a shout out to Janine. Please welcome Janine and Tom. Janine is working at Philadelphia Toboggan Company, and she does a great job.
Yeah.
She's also my daughter.
Yes. She has traveled many places with Tom. Yes.
Yeah, I'm sure we'll talk about that. Because
Oh,
we have, in the company Ben that we do, it's brothers, right? We spend a lot of time together.
Oh yeah.
So I'm sure I'll ask a question or two about lots
Ladies
of family
and gentlemen,
time.
please welcome Tom Rebbie and Janine.
Yeah.
Welcome to the show.
Well, thank you very much.
It's like Elvis Presley.
So we always tend to start the show with the same two questions. We find that works out well. And so
you go first.
I'll ask mine first, sure.
Go ahead.
So my favorite question to ask people is, what's something that makes you angry? I think it's a great way. I think it's such a great way to get to know someone. It's what's something that like upsets you.
Let's see. I would have to think. Police.
Yeah.
They upset me the most.
Sure.
Yeah.
And I don't like uneven playing fields. And it's not fair when people are taking advantage of somebody that's down.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that really, Janine can tell you, that just drives me up the wall.
Yeah. Janine, how about you?
Well, bullies is a really good answer. But in the same realm, liars.
Yeah.
And someone you can't trust.
Yeah.
Right.
Untrustworthy people.
Yeah.
It's something that
It's
can
crazy.
really get under your skin.
Yeah.
And Ben and I have had the conversation. Honesty is always the best policy,
Yes.
right?
Yeah, honesty. Like, a couple of times we were out for dinner.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh, I forget what we were talking about. There was one story we talked about.
Yeah.
Wasn't it?
Yeah, I can't recall either, but I think it was something at the trade show that had happened, and maybe someone was just over exaggerating to you, and so you were relaying that, and you said you were like, "Oh, I don't really know if that's true," and
you know what? Maybe it was with Gary. I said, Gary, you should do something different or something like that. I told him, you could just go in another hotel and get the free breakfast instead of that's what it was.
We did have that conversation. Yes.
So I said, I should do honesty is key. So
you can't do that.
No, you can't do that. We stayed at a hotel one time, Dad. There was no pool, and the hotel next to us let us swim.
Right. Yeah, but that's different because they let you do that, right? You asked them, and they said you could.
Yeah, staying in one hotel and walking across the street just to get the breakfast, the free breakfast.
Yeah.
The other one. That's not something you want to get caught doing.
No, definitely not.
Speaking of food, speaking of breakfast food.
Yeah, that's true. Good segment.
My taste buds are tasting right now. What is your favorite restaurant to eat at, Tom?
That's Ben's question. I have to ask everybody.
And Janine.
Oh, geez. I don't have any one single one. I think there's one that we like to go to. It's up in Allentown. It's called Yule's Oyster House, but it's not only steak food or seafood. They have steaks and chicken, pork chops.
We'll have to go sometime.
But they're very good. We like going there. It's good.
Yeah.
Good amount to choose from.
Yeah, I don't really have a particular
Oh, come on, you're a foodie.
Well, that's the thing. My husband and I
happened?
were big foodies. We like to try different restaurants, different genres.
Yeah.
But there are a couple spots down in Center City that are our go-tos. So I'll give a shout out to Budokan.
Ooh,
It's
never
a
heard of it.
really nice Asian fusion restaurant down in Old City.
Okay.
So
Not a
delicious.
big fan.
You don't like Asian food, Ben?
No, I love American Italian. I like
wrong with
egg rolls.
It's a good shout out for me though, because me and Mom are big Asian food people, so we'll have to check it out.
Highly recommend.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Always looking for good places
And you
to go.
and you lived in Japan for 6 months.
did.
So
I did live in
that's
Japan
part
for
of
a while.
Asian food. Or, yeah.
that's a whole different type of food, but it's great.
Oh yeah, my first experience going over there, I learned all the different types of sushi there is. I think in that week and a half period I was there, I lost 7 to 9 pounds.
Yep. There you go. There you go. Yeah, I joke all the time. I was not a fish fan my whole life. I go over to Japan and I ate more fish than I've eaten anywhere. And I don't know. I said it's better over there. I think it's because they catch it usually the same day you eat it. So
Well,
has something to do with it.
there's a good point. We went to this one restaurant. My interpreter took me out, and we're sitting at this long bar that curved around the restaurant, and we're sitting and it's all marble, and they're serving up sushi, and I see the chef bring up this 5-gallon pail. He reaches into it, takes something out, throws it down, and smack onto the lower marble, and I can see the tentacles just very slowly stop moving. Then he takes another one out, smack, down it goes, and I'm watching this over the counter. And he puts the lid back on the bucket, sets it down, and he starts pushing, slicing, dicing, and whatever, and rolls it up and puts it and slides it out on the marble in front of me. And I'm just sitting there staring, and I'm trying not to be that typical American who's just like, I ain't eating that.
Yeah.
And I leaned over, I said, not to insult the chef, I said, what is that? And my interpreter said, Rebbie-san, that is squid. And I said, okay, so it's squid. I said, why did he just smack it on the marble? I said, well, he had to kill it. We like our squid very fresh. And I said, well, tell you what, I'm on a squid-free diet this week, so you can have mine. Because I could just imagine, if it be my luck, I would stick it in my mouth, and one of them tentacles would come out and grab my lip, and, it'd be like alien all over it again. So.
It's like SpongeBob or like It's like Mr. B. Remember Mr. B? The movie when he wanted to eat those shellfishes.
Yeah.
And then Mr. B's holiday, and he put them in the purse.
I don't remember that one. No.
There was a scene in the movie.
Oh, and Mr. Bean.
Mr. Bean's holiday?
Yeah.
Yeah. Now
there was a scene.
We love Mr. Bean.
Yeah.
Fan.
Okay.
There was a scene in there where they had the shellfish, and he was eating all the.
Oh, I do know what you're talking about.
Yeah.
Yeah. He orders this big tray, and it came with some seafood he didn't want to eat, and so he the waiter's watching him, and he goes like this, and he dumps it into his napkin.
Yeah.
And then from there he dumps it into the woman's purse next to him.
Yep.
That was my favorite scene.
Yeah. Ben, Susan Hartman just asked.
Oh, what's up, Susan? Okay, what is the biggest roller coaster you designed for?
So someone watching right now named Susan just said, "What's the biggest roller coaster you've designed carts for?"
Susan Hartman. Well, Susan, the Voyage at Holiday World in Santa Claus, Indiana. That's probably one of the biggest ones that we're rolling on.
Yeah, that's cool.
The Voyage has a fun story behind it of how it came to be. Will Cook, who was the president at Holiday World and owner CEO at the time, he really wanted to cater to the enthusiast community, so much like yourself, Ben, big roller coaster enthusiasts. And he just talked to folks in the park and at American Coaster Enthusiast events. What's your dream wooden coaster? What do you want to see? How high do you want it to go? How fast do you want it to go? How many turns, elements? And the designing of that coaster was intense, and it's one of the most intense wood coasters out there.
Wow.
It sits on the Golden Ticket top 10 regularly.
Wow.
It's a lot of people's favorites out there.
I need to go.
Yeah.
Funny thing about that was, even before the voyage came about, I get invited to Marine Coaster Enthusiasts, their national convention or international convention. I get invited to East Coaster and No Coaster, so I get, and I like to go and chit chat and talk and tell stories and so. But I always like to open when I'm going to talk with a joke, and I've done it several times. And and it's my favorite joke, and I've tweaked it to fit this. And essentially, is I start off with, I had a dream last night. And I got up this morning and I had to think back about the dream. And the dream was, I was walking down the beach and I found a genie bottle laying on the beach. And so I picked it up, cleaned it off. And when I did, this big genie appeared out of the bottle and told me he'd give me a wish. And I said, well, okay, well, let me think. I'm going to think. Well, I'm a big skier. I love to go skiing. So I want my own road to go to, I said, I want my own road to go to Switzerland so I can ski around the Matterhorn whenever I feel like driving over to Europe. And he says, no. He says, you realize what it's going to take for the steel, the macadam, and all the bridging, everything. He goes, no, pick a different tree. Pick a different wish. I said, okay, well, let me think. Okay, how about you build a wooden roller coaster that every roller coaster enthusiast in the world will fall in love with immediately and would just name that the top one roller coaster in the world. And with that, the genie looked at me and said, so do you want a 2-lane or a 4-lane highway?
I don't, what? That's so
Because
fun.
one would be easier to do than the other.
Oh, that's a good idea.
I love it. That's so good. That's so good.
I have a question.
Yeah.
You can tie in with that since we're
sure.
talking about coasters now. My dream is to build a Benergy World theme park someday. I mean, with Benergy One taking off, I think someday when we get lots of $1 million,
Theme park.
I would love to have a theme park, and I would love to add a wooden coaster, and put it under the Philadelphia Toboggan Company.
We'll definitely know who to call, right, if we get to that point.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. You know who to call.
Oh, yeah.
So I'd love to. I'm gonna search for land and.
Sometimes I feel like the genie, like I have to say no to some of the wishes, with Ben.
So I think it's gonna happen, Dan.
Because it's a little out of our core values, but we could maybe do it. Like,
welcome to Be the One Coaster.
Yeah. I think about like Walt Disney, right? Like
every
making
movies. Amusement park should have a train,
and he decided to make a theme park, right? So
welcome to Be the One Coaster.
It all started with one man's dream. That's what the Disney slogan is.
You're right, exactly. Ben's got a lot of those, right?
And I do know a friend of mine, Tower Coin. I can call him up and say, "Hey, can you design this for our company?"
Would he do it?
He would. I would talk to him into it.
Well, that, Ben, we'll say is a good segue. And we talked about it a little bit when you first came in, but I wanted to ask, like, what it was like going from just working at because it was at the time, right? It was the Toboggan Company, and now it's Toboggan Coasters.
Correct.
So, like, what was it like to and you said it was just your life, but, you kind of worked your way up to now where you are.
I didn't plan any of this.
Sure.
And I've said it from the first day that I came to work at Philadelphia Toboggan. I'm just here till I find a better job. And it's now 45 years.
Wow.
I'm still looking for a better job. But, I worked next door at a tile factory that made bathroom tile. I mean, clean tile, carry tile, box tile, push tile, just everything. I really hate bathroom tile. I did it for 4 years while I went to school at night, and I just one day I walked into the firehouse and I was just grumbled to myself about how much I hate the job. And a friend of mine said, well, you ought to come work where I do. And I'm like, well, you make pinball machines. What can I do there? And he goes, no, I make skee ball alleys. And I said, oh, okay. Well, that's a little different then. And he goes, well, a guy retired in the roller coaster department, and they're going to fill the spot. So I went the next day and applied for, went in and told the general manager that I'd like to apply for a job. And we're not looking to hire right now. It's not a real busy time of year. And I said, all right, find something. And long story short is I kept going back, and then I stopped going, and then they offered me a job. And I left the job making, back in 1977, $4.55 an hour.
Dang.
To $4.25 an hour.
Wow.
So I took a pay cut just to do something different.
Yeah.
And what they had shown me was, you'll be doing this, you'll be doing that, you'll be helping. So I started out just sitting on a drill press, drilling holes in the floorboards of roller coaster cards. And they gave me this pallet. It was, it's just a big pallet of wood, different size boards, and how to set it up. And they had a blueprint of everything. And they said, here you go. And the pallet was, like 4x4, and probably about 5 foot tall with all the wood. And I got about 3 days into it, and half the pile, maybe a little more than half the pile, because there were so many pieces of wood. And I'm thinking, why did I leave the tile? Why am I sitting here doing this? I should have gone. And I was like, oh, wait a minute, that's right. You hate it getting dirty and filthy and just being bathroom tile. I think I'll stick it out here. And so I stayed. And the next thing I know, it was, okay, we're going to have you over here. We're going to show you. And I worked with another guy in a department, and I started learning how to read the blueprints, started learning how to make all the components for the cars, and how to set the wheels and the bearings, and how to put the wheels on the chassis, and how to build the chassis, then put the wheels on them, and all the parts that go with it. And we flip it over, and then we're putting the upper halves on it. And 9 months later, they offered me foreman's position, and I was like, okay, that sounds like interesting. Yeah. And I got a raise, so now I'm making like $4.75 an hour.
Yeah, right.
And I'm thinking, I'm doing pretty good now. And one thing led to another. I just, we have a troubleshooting. And my old boss, Sam High, I'd love the guy dearly. I still do. I see him every day because I have his picture hanging in my office.
Love it.
And he comes out one day and he says, what are you working on? I said, well, I'm making parts. And he goes, all right. He says, how about driving up to Dorney Park up in Allentown? He says, they're having an issue, and the cars are doing something, and they don't know. See if you can go figure it out. So I went up there, and I'm riding this roller coaster all day long. And people are getting on, and then they're getting on. Then they're getting on a couple hours later. And they're like, were you on here earlier today? Are you going for the world's record? And like, no, this is my job. I'm trying to figure out what's going on here. And I had figured it out by then, but Sam always told me and said, don't. When I called him and told him, he said, don't say anything. You don't want to embarrass the park.
Yeah, sure.
Give us some time. So I just sat there, I rode the coaster, went and had lunch with the maintenance staff. I went and got ice cream.
They're very fun, the maintenance staff. One of them just retired, I think.
There you go.
Becca, I think, or I forget her name, but she was on the maintenance staff at Dorney.
Okay.
Brittany?
I think she was like an older woman.
That's not Brittany, then.
Mm-hmm.
I forget her name.
So one thing led to another, where I just, next thing I know, he's sending me out to troubleshoot jobs.
Right.
And whatever he gave me, I just took it on. And then I came in one day. I was out for 2 days with an inner ear thing, and I came in, and they're like, "Oh, did you hear what happened?" I'm like, "No, what?" And they said, "Sam sold skee ball, and you're the only employee with Philadelphia Toboggan now, but they have a job for you in skee ball." And I was like, "Wow, okay." So Sam came in, and he came back to where my desk was, and he said, "So I guess you heard." And I said, "He goes, well," he said, "I really need somebody to stick it out with me with Toboggan." He says, "I need the parts made, and as a courtesy to the parks that are out there." So I like, "Yeah, sure, I'll stick with you." And Ski-Ball was in the building for another 5-6 years, something like that. Then they built their own facility right over here in Chalfont, and or New Britain Township, I should say.
Wow, I didn't know that.
And so they moved out of the building, and by that time, that was like 84 that happened, and then, or 85. And anyways, and late, like 86, we started getting busy again. So we started hiring on people, and next thing you know, Sam said, well, shop foreman, when, we go to a trade show, shop foreman, let's just give you general manager title, and you're doing. I was doing the purchasing. I was doing the hiring, the what health insurance to get, and I would present it to him. And I was just kept doing the job, whatever he threw at me.
Dang.
And it wasn't a matter of something like magical, like the king of toboggan or something.
Yeah, right.
I just took it on, and just one day he comes in, and it was on a Tuesday, and because I was going to play racquetball, and Tuesdays usually when I caught up with all the POs, and they were all handwritten then. There was no computer.
Wow.
Oh gosh.
So I was
it like DOS?
Imagine.
Because I love DOS.
Yeah, I know.
DOS is a very...
No, all handwritten. It wasn't on a computer.
Oh my gosh, it was like a typewriter.
yeah. So he came in, and I was going to play racquetball, and he just put his Coke on my desk, and then put his feet up on the corner of my desk, which he'd never done before. And I thought, well, this is very strange. What's going on here? And he said, look, I'm tired. I'm doing this for 30 years, and I want to retire. And I'd like you to buy the company, or I'm just going to close it. And
Wow.
I still remember sitting there thinking, what did he just say?
Yeah.
What's he talking about? And I said, you're going to do what? And he goes, I want to retire. I want to play with my grandkids. I want to travel the country with my antique cars and my motorhome, and go to antique car events. And I want you to buy it. Otherwise, I'll just close it.
Wow.
And this is where that opportunity knocking thing my mom told me about all the time. So I was like, all right, I'm going to make it work.
Yeah.
And so the night before Thanksgiving, we are in Norristown, and at the law firm, his law firm's office with my attorney, and
Wow.
and signed off all the papers. And of course, by the time I got back to the shop in the office, and I'm thinking, I'm sure I'm going to be living out of a shopping cart by next week. And it just that kind of stuff just starts on you. But I took it on. It wasn't anything that I planned. It was never my plan. I remember one guy in particular, they had Toboggan, who he said something to me one time, and I said, well, I enjoy doing this and that. He goes, you're a lifer. I said, no, I'm looking for something else. I'm sure there's a better job out there. And here I am 45 years later. So
Right.
That's the long and short of it. So
I have a question.
Yes, Ben.
So, if I don't want to be rude, but if you were to retire, who would take over your spot?
Oh.
I was thinking Janine.
Yeah.
I was like,
Thanks, Ben.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
It's a hard question, I'm sure.
No. I didn't. I was just thinking about that. I'm like,
Yeah.
it was stuck in my brain, but I didn't know how to say it.
Mm-hmm.
No, that's a very good question, Ben. Yes. Janine, I'm not going to tell you how she came to work for the company. I mean, she did stuff for me, like summer, instead of having a summer job at the swimming pool or something like that. She would come work for me, and that way she could do. She had color guards, and she was able to do that when she was in high school, and but she was doing things for me around the office. But when she graduated, getting ready to graduate college, the discussion came up, what are you going to do? And so I said, well, come work. I said, look, I got a lot of filing stuff that I have to catch up on, that I'm really behind on, and you can be my little tech buddy, help figure out why I can't turn my phone on in the morning. And, just come in. And it's now going on
12 years.
Wow.
Full time.
12 years.
Wow.
And essentially, she's doing the same thing or saying the same thing I did. So I'm only here until I find a better job.
Yeah.
So,
Wow.
I mean,
I think you'd be a great next
CEO?
president.
Next
Yes.
president?
Yes.
And then you'll have to hang my picture on your wall, right?
Yeah, there you go, man.
I need Tom Rebbie's in my room.
You do.
That's
we
true.
have to get you his headshot.
That's
We've
true.
talked
so you
about
have
that.
my picture hanging on your wall.
Yeah.
That sounds kind of creepy. Man.
No, it's fine. I have Joel Mambies. I have Rob Deckers. I have Matt Allman, CEO. I have Chick-fil-A CEO on my wall. Roger Goodell. TGI Fridays on my wall.
Ben, somebody said that you should take over. I don't know if he's got the qualifications, but
Do I have the qualifications, Tom? I'm just kidding.
You got the enthusiasm.
Yep, he's definitely got that for sure.
I think Dan should take over. Dan does great in finances.
Well, I don't know about that. I'm a jack of all trades, master of none. That's kind of where I fall. I love practicing many different things. We used to joke when I was a kid. I would play a sport, and then Mom would say, "Are you ready to go play basketball again?" I said, "Mom, I already did that. I did that last year. I did that for every sport. I played it once, and then I was done."
You
But-
just go like sports.
Yeah. Now I'm not a huge fan.
And the other thing, it's not just me. I bought the company, but it's not just me. I mean, we have a good team. We have a real good team and good support from the staff. And
One of them's actually on. She just
Hi,
said
Brenda.
hi.
I missed you.
Brenda.
She works at the Toboggan Company.
Yeah.
yes, Brenda is very nice. Very nice.
She has a son with autism.
She-
Shout out to Corey. Love you, Corey. You're the man.
There you go.
Brenda also has the patience to teach dogs hand signs.
Wow.
And
Yes, deaf dog sign language.
Wow.
It's
Wow.
amazing to think about. So
Yeah. Yeah, definitely shout out to Brenda then.
yes, just
But no, I think you're so right. It's a team thing, right? It's not one
Yeah.
person.
yeah, and everybody on the staff, in one shape or another, I've got a personal background with too, and it's not a matter of like, oh yeah, your buddies this and that. No, they do a good job, and starting with Janine and our GM Phil, and
Phil's a great guy.
and I'm not going to tell Phil in my history all the way back to when he was 13 years old. So, but yeah, it's just a matter of having a good support staff, and there have been the clunkers that have come to work there and think that they can get away with stuff, but
Sure.
no, we're too small of a company and to miss that. If you want to do that kind of stuff, go work for a big corporation where you can just melt into the pot and disappear. But with us, we can pretty much pick it out and pick them out that really don't have their heart into doing the job and building what we do.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. I tease Ben all the time. When all three brothers lived here at the same time, it was easy to say, the bathroom's not dirty because of me, right? It's someone else. Now that it's just me and Ben, right? We know it's one of us. So
It's me.
You can't, right? You can't. When you're a smaller group, you can't really pass the buck to anybody, or it's easy to see who's trying to pass the buck.
So, okay.
What were you gonna say, Ben?
I was gonna say question 3, but you can go ahead, Tom.
Fine, Ben.
I didn't know you were ready. All right, I heard a story that you guys used to own skee ball. Me and my family love skee ball. My dad is a king of skee ball. I don't know how he does it.
He's very good at it.
He's very talented. He hits the hundreds all the time. Like when I was at an app, I hit the hundreds.
Yeah, he used to go because they would go to the boardwalk every summer, and I think he would tell us that it was 10-cent skee ball at the time.
Julian's Arcade.
Yeah,
And he
so
also goes to Chuck E.
all
Cheese.
the time.
You told me a story. You went to Chuck E. Cheese and you played one time, and they said, "What are you doing?"
well, yeah, okay. I can tell you a story about it. Yes, the Toboggan used to own skee ball. They were sold in
85. I'm 84, 85. And so back in the 80s, during the summertime, when we were slow in the roller coaster department, and I was just building parts and inventory, my guys would normally get farmed out to 2 jobs in skee-ball. So one year, the chief engineer of Toboggan Skee-Ball came out and says, "What are you working on?" And I said, "Well, I'm just making parts and inventory." And he says, "All right." And but that, they wheel a skee-ball machine, set it all up, turn it on, fire it up, and turn it on. And he goes, "Play this until we tell you to stop." So I'm like, "What do you mean?" He goes, "Well, we're working on a new digital printout or readout, and we need somebody to play this. Just play it all day long until either it breaks or the end of the day and go home." I said, "Well,
I don't remember this.
I said, what do you want me to do tomorrow? Just play it. Just play it till we tell you." "Oh, okay." So I ended up playing the skee-ball machine for about a week and a half to 2 weeks, and the chief engineer, Noli Janata, he was just a fascinating guy to talk to. He came out one day and he says, "You're playing it wrong." I'm throwing the ball straight up the alley. And he goes, "You're playing it wrong. Let me show you how you do it." And he's throwing these, hitting the corner where the hop is and popping them, dropping them in the 50. He rolled a 450 game without even warming up.
Dang.
And I'm standing there going, "Okay, I see how you do." So I learned how to do that. Hit it
Yeah.
there. And I usually don't go for the 50. I usually go for the 40s. So I've only did 450 one time. So one year for Christmas, I end up buying, I get a hold of skee-ball and I end up buying a machine, and we put it in the basement. And so Jean grew up pretty much with the machine in the basement. But on the weekends that her mom had to work, which she was a cardiac nurse, and she worked midnight shift, I would get Janine out of the house and we'd go do something someplace. And one of the things was we'd go down to Chuck E. Cheese. And she would just sit there on the end of the machine next to us, and she would just keep putting the tokens in, and the tickets would just keep spewing out, and she put the next token in. And finally, the guy that works there comes walking up and goes, "You work for skee-ball, don't you?" I said, "No, I don't work for skee." "Yes, you do."
Oh, the honesty is key.
Yes, you do. You work for skee-ball, because skee-ball people come in here and they throw that ball and they hit right there in that hop. They know where to hit that thing. You work for ski. "No, I don't. I've never worked for skee-ball." And he just looks at me and I said, "But we own the company, and I play skee-ball at work almost every day." So yeah, that's my
I love it.
skee-ball story. That happened a couple summers where they come and say, "Here, play this till it breaks." And I say, "Okay."
Man,
that's great.
I
You know
think
what?
Dad would love that, right?
Dad would love. You know what my dad would love? A skee-ball machine right in our house.
There you go.
Yeah, we've talked about it a couple times. I think that's maybe a retirement gift for Dad when he finally retires.
Yeah.
We'll get him a skee-ball machine.
Yeah, that'd be great in the background all day long.
We'll have to come over to your house. I have to bring my dad and maybe her play.
Maybe.
They have skee-ball in their basement.
Yeah.
Yep.
Still have it to this day?
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
There you go. I love
so
it.
we'll have to.
You can't invite yourself over to people's houses.
Nah,
Ben?
it's all right.
Yeah.
I just get excited.
That's Ben's favorite thing to do, is to make plans at someone else's location.
I'm sorry. I just get excited.
Hey, that's how we get to all of his speaking gigs.
That's
too.
true. That's
you
very true.
You should have me in.
You're right. You're right.
Great selling point.
Yeah, when we were at, I guess it was Bercadia, right? We were speaking at Bercadia,
Yeah.
and the book had just come out. Ben told everybody, "You got to buy it. You have to buy the book. Have to buy the book." And I'm in the back, and I'm like, "Guys, you don't have to buy it." And the woman in front of me is like, "Ben's a better salesman than you, right?" I was like, "Yeah, he is."
I mean, honestly, it's been a great journey.
Yeah.
We were just at Chick-fil-A last week.
We were. You're right. No, I was going to say something about that, actually. Interesting segue. The guy who started Chick-fil-A, so it's a family company. It's been, I think there's only been 3 CEOs, and it's now the 3rd generation of owners. But Truett Kelly.
Truett Kathy.
Kathy. I keep saying Kelly. Yes, thank you.
True Kathy.
True Kathy. He started Chick-fil-A, but he had a similar moment where he built their corporate headquarters, and it was the most he had ever spent on anything. And he talks about the fact that he's like, I think I just made the worst mistake ever. Like it's very similar to like, I'm going to be living in a shopping cart situation where he's like, I don't know if I should have done this. But that was the turning point for him, where they really kind of went into this bigger area of success in that challenging moment of, should I have made this choice? So when you were saying that earlier about when you bought the company, the Toboggan Company,
it's really,
it was very interesting.
And there was one cool story about Chick-fil-A. There's menus to this day. There's 4 menus left, and if you had those menus, you get a chicken sandwich for 64 cents, and then fries for like a nickel.
Yeah. So his like original restaurant,
it's called the Dwarf House.
Yeah, they have like each menu was stamped, and so there's 4 that still exist. And if you show up to any Chick-fil-A with that menu, you can pay that menu price for the items.
Wow.
And so, yeah, I think it was 64 cents for a chicken sandwich and like a nickel for French fries. But total side note. Back more on topic to coasters. Ben was wondering, and he's asking me today, when does most maintenance happen on coasters? Is that like off season or
Right
just
now.
any time? Yeah.
Yeah, right now from October to May is the parks are down, they're shut down, and they, they're tearing down all their rides. And the unfortunate thing is, but fortunate for us, is that the parks that are shut down, their maintenance staff, they're trying to hire people, but people just don't want to come out and apply for jobs. And the easiest thing was they contacted us and said, can you do our winter overhaul for us? And yeah, no problem. So this is the busiest time of the year for us. So come May, we start getting slower, and when we have a real good season, we get a lot of things done around the building. And one summer we painted all the walls.
I like the walls, the police car stuff. That's pretty cool.
Oh, that's a different story on the outside of the building. That's a strange story. But the interior, I mean, for 20 years we were looking at just white walls, and slowly they get grime over the time.
Sure.
So we just spent one summer just washing every single wall down.
Wow.
And when they weren't washing that wall, it was drying, and they were then painting on. Started every department got to pick their own colors and
cool.
Paint their oon. And then we had, if you go through our plant, we have designated aisleways for the forklift, and I even asked somebody in one of our safety meetings. I said, you know what? Every department should have its own little saying. So I want you guys to come up with something to say about your department and what it is, and just have one sentence to whatever you want to put up there. And I said, and I turned to our woodshop guy. I said, Ed, what would you say about the woodshop? And he just, without even hesitating or blinking, he just sits there and he goes, we're cut above.
I love it.
Yeah, so if you go around, there's all these, as we call them, Easter eggs hiding up on the wall.
I love it.
Little
They're very
sayings about-
punny.
That's so cool.
Yes.
Kind of like Pixar. Pixar has the Easter eggs.
Do they?
Like there's different movies in there. It's like, oh, there's a Finding Nemo toy in there.
Oh, yeah.
It's pretty cool.
Pizza Planet truck.
Oh, yeah, it's pretty cool.
Yeah.
It's pretty cool.
No, that's good though. That sense of camaraderie too around your
It was a
department.
great team building activity.
I like that.
We laughed a lot in that meeting, and we have a big whiteboard in the conference room.
I
and-
seen that.
love it.
Where you
You
go,
have,
oh
yep.
yeah, where are we supposed to go
Yep,
next?
So
And we like
Tom
to-
just went to town, and as people put stuff out there, so it was a lot of fun.
I like to tell people that I create chaos and she organizes it for us. And I came in one day and it was at lunch, and I closed the lunch, the conference room door, and I said, do you know what this is? And I pull out a plastic Easter egg, the type that comes apart, and you can put candies or jelly beans in. Okay, so we've all had those growing up. And I said, you know what this is? And she goes, it's a plastic Easter egg. I said, I know. And I got 70 of them. And she goes, what are you going? I said, I bought them at CVS this morning.
Oh
Got
gosh.
a couple bags of them. let's have some fun with the guys. And with that, the two of us started coming up with different prizes you could win. Like a day off with pay.
Yeah.
That was one of the big ones. What are some of the other ones?
A gift card to either Wawa for gas or food.
Sure.
A new screwdriver set.
Just
movie gift card. Enough prizes that everybody could win something twice. And yeah, we went around the shop and hid Easter eggs in the after everybody went home.
After everybody went home, and it was the day before a safety meeting, and we were a month out away from Easter. And so the two of us were out like little kids, skipping around the shop, hiding these eggs in different spots.
And then taking pictures of where they all were.
That's very smart.
Nothing got left behind.
We didn't know what was in the egg because we just put a number in there, and then we came, and Janine had it all set up on chart, and we didn't know what was in any of the eggs. And we didn't hide them out of sight. They were hidden, but they blended in with the color background.
Sure.
Or just nothing was hidden. They were just hidden in plain sight.
Sure.
So the next day we have our safety meeting, and we go through the regular stuff. And at the end of it, we're sitting there, and anybody got anything to bring up? Okay, this and that. Good idea. Let's do that. And I said, now, does anybody know what this is? And I tossed one of those plastic eggs on the table. And everybody's looking at it, and they're looking around at each other and looking at me, and they're going, it's a plastic Easter egg. And so we told them what we're doing and what we were going to do with it. And they're all like, oh, it's kind of silly, kind of,
They're keeping it cool on the outside, but on the inside.
Yeah. So the moment, okay, safety meeting's over. Okay, you guys, thanks a lot. I'll see you around the shop. So the moment they're out the door, her and I are packing up our notebooks and stuff. I hear a knock on the door, and there's one of the guys. He goes, got one. It wasn't 5 minutes. And he's like, I got one. It's like, okay. So
well, hang on to it.
Hang on to it, and we'll open them up the Friday or Thursday before Easter. And so sure enough, we brought everybody in at the end of the day, and everybody sat there and okay, who's got number? And I
love it.
And so it was fun, and we've done that ever since, except for that COVID thing.
Yeah,
that really ruined the Easter egg hunt. So
there's a golden egg. That's the one like
the
top
eggs.
prize.
Okay.
Yeah. And the first year that we did the hunt, it took them nearly until the day before the cash-in day to find it, and it was pretty funny. It was in a rain slicker jacket.
Wow.
We have it for the guys.
It was in the hood.
Oh, okay.
So it wasn't hidden, but it blended just perfectly.
Yeah, right.
That's good.
And then the thing is like I'd be walking around every week handing out paychecks. How you doing? How's your mom? How's your aunt? How's it? Just chatting with the guys like I normally do. And I ask each one of them, I go, so did you find an egg? And then, one guy would just say, I'm not even looking. And really, you're not even looking? And he just looks at me and I go, how many did you find? He goes, I'm not even looking. It turned out he had like 4. So, everybody's just trying to play cool. And then it got to the point where one guy, it was like finding him, and he would spend lunchtime walking around eating his sandwich, just looking everywhere with this. So the next year we had to change the rules a little bit. You were only allowed to win 2.
Yeah.
But you could take it out, look at the number, go, I wonder if that's a good witch or a bad witch. And you could either put it back, or find another one and put it in its place, or trade it off with somebody else. Maybe you got a better egg than somebody.
So it's kind of like the white elephant game.
Yeah,
like
exactly.
Christmas. So Grandma Candace, when we were kids, she said, all right, we're going to do an egg hunt. She dragged us into our teenagers to adults.
Yeah, we had a problem where our like the age gaps in our family. So our youngest cousin, when our oldest cousin was 20, our youngest cousin was, I think, 10 or 8. And so for our oldest cousin, right, Easter eggs kind of done, but the 8-10-year-old wants to have Easter eggs. So we always had these like kind of debates for like, when do we stop? Like, do we wait? And so I think that's what you're thinking about, right?
Yeah, and I'm glad we stopped it. I mean, it's much easier not to.
You didn't like finding Easter eggs?
I mean, when I have kids, we will.
Yeah.
Do it.
Yeah, because I think the key there, like you're saying, is even the people that are trying to play it cool, they're the people that found 4 eggs, right? Like everyone who's like, oh, I'm not looking, like they're the ones that want to look the most, you know. And I'm glad that you said that you limited it, because the first thing I thought of when you said that was I would be finding 8 eggs, like I would just be looking all day,
and bartering.
Yeah.
Like, who wants an egg?
Yeah.
What are you willing to get paid for it?
Right.
You know what's funny? Christmas is on a Sunday and Easter is on a Sunday, so I wish Christmas every year was on a Sunday.
Why is that?
So we can have fun. And what?
Why is it only fun on a Sunday?
Because it's a good day for Jesus.
Oh, okay.
Get it? Get it? Ah.
Gotcha. So, Ben, you were just with the Philadelphia Toboggan Coaster.
Thank you so much for everything. That was amazing.
Where were you?
In Orlando, Florida. I met so many amazing people.
You handed out a lot of business cards.
No, Ben, those people met you.
Yeah. Yep.
You're amazing.
Oh, yeah.
I've got a lot of interviews. We even got one speaking gig out of it, so we're pretty...
Yeah, we just talked to them today. We're going to go to South Carolina. But...
You just had to be there. I mean, Ben would keep coming back to the booth and he says, I'm out of business cards. I need business cards. I got to call my mom and get business cards. And I'm like, how many cards did you hand out? And he goes, I don't know.
So Aunt Kathy, shout out to Aunt Kathy, went to Denny's and she said, all right, we'll go to St. Cloud. We'll go pick up business cards at Staples. And her and Uncle George drove.
Picks them up.
Picks them up. Classic Aunt Kathy.
I said all the time,
Ben was a rock star.
The biggest thing for our company is that Ben's natural ability to network, right?
Oh, yeah.
And so I'm sure it's the same thing for you. You know, you joke about finding a better job, but like clearly you're well suited to what you're doing, and you wouldn't keep doing it if you hated it, right? I assume.
You're right there. You
right?
have to assume that.
Yeah.
Well, the amazing thing when Ben and your mom came to our office, and we were, because I had sold Ben on Channel 29 and a morning show, and I was like, it's Ben. I know Ben. You know, it's on.
I'm actually going to be on B101 on Thursday.
And what's January 13th?
Oh, what's January 13th, Ben?
Can I say it, Dan?
You could say that.
Am I allowed to make?
You can say what you're allowed to say, but you can't say anything other than that.
Okay. So I do have a big announcement, but I cannot tell you what happens. But I am in the audience of The Price is Right. I did my solo trip to California, but I can't tell you what happens until January 13th. So find out January 13th, Facebook.
Yeah.
Dun, dun, dun.
You just have to tune in, set your DVR.
Wait.
Maybe something a little more cheerful.
I know. But
being at the show with inviting Ben down, and a couple along as our guest, it was just something I thought Ben should experience this. He should really see how big this show is, and. You know, just experience. And when you're a first timer at the show, I can always tell because they're walking around with their mouth open and they're pointing all different directions. But Ben, he just took it in stride and took off. And we came back from dinner one night and we all decided, well, let's go down to the little cafe inside the hotel.
And we met people from Jim Thorpe.
And we met people, the 2 realtor ladies from Chalfont. And
Abington.
And their office is in Chalfont. Yeah. So we're standing there in line, and everybody's like, "Oh, I want to try." And Ben loves to taste and try. So he's like, "I want to try this. I want to try." And I said, "Well, why don't we let these girls go ahead of us?" And they're like, "Oh, that's okay." And Ben, of course, turns around and he says, introduces himself and says, we're from Philadelphia. And they're like, well, we're from Abington. And it's like, really? Well, yeah, we're here for a realtors convention. And Janine remembers exactly what she wrote and how she wrote it, but we ended up talking to these two. They were infatuated, just mesmerized by the story Ben was telling them about growing up. And then we're going to close this. When we close this off, I'm going to tell you something special.
Yeah.
But anyways, Janine read on this one woman's webpage the next day.
Well, this was a different realtor.
Yeah.
Again, so him just making connections. So yeah, the two ladies at the gelato stand. We talked to them for about an hour, and that was great. But I think, Ben, had you spoken at one of the
Yes, it was Copper Beach.
Yes,
Okay.
her
Their kids go to Copper Beach, and I said, oh my gosh, I know Mrs. Rogers.
Yes, so Ben was already somewhat connected into their lives, but there was another woman
I just met. Yeah.
Yep, at the hotel lobby who was there for the realtor convention. She is from South Carolina, and she wrote this beautiful Facebook post and tagged Ben in that because, of course, when you're going to meet Ben, he's also going to tell you where to find him on Facebook.
Yep.
And she made this beautiful post about how she had a great time at her realtor conference, of why she was there in Orlando, but her biggest takeaway from her conference was meeting a stranger in the hotel lobby, and ordered the book. And she was just, he's magnetic,
charismatic. That's what I've learned.
Yeah, no, it's so true. Everywhere we go, I'm always surprised by the people that come up and will talk to us afterwards. And
such a big guy. He's fast.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
We turn around and go, where'd he go now?
So I got to tell you this story, Tom. I'm sorry, we'll talk about Orlando, but we were in the airport eating at Ruby Tuesdays, and I'm sitting there and I'm talking to people, and I'm like, oh, my grandson has autism, and we was eating there, and then she comes up and she goes, I want you to say hi to my grandson, and we just talked.
Oh, that's right.
You talked to her grandson?
Yeah, she was FaceTiming.
Oh, wow.
And with her daughter, who was the mother of her grandson.
Wow.
Yeah, it was really neat.
Yeah. Yeah, it's something that, I think that's the biggest thing when Ben goes and speaks somewhere, is his desire to be, and just, I guess not even desire, it's just him being genuine, right? He's just genuinely himself all the time. And I think sometimes especially I think at I've been to a couple conventions, nothing as big as that.
The Toy Fair in New York.
Yeah, I went with Ben to the Toy Fair in New York. Oh
man.
Yeah, that was crazy.
Before COVID.
It was the year before COVID, and there was a guy that
his name was Anthony. He made a game.
He made a game, but he didn't like big social events, and so he said, Ben, can you go for me? And so Ben was at their table, and that was crazy. It was three stories and madness, but
I'd love to see that.
Oh yeah, it was crazy. It was so funny because I think about it now, and I'm like, with COVID, it was weird to think about how all of that happened, and and then COVID was right after it, but I feel like some people, right, who go to conventions maybe kind of put on the convention hat and are able to be this really energetic, bubbly person.
The representative.
Yeah, right, exactly. But Ben's that all the time. That's just Ben. There's no hat. It's just who he is. And I think people can kind of see that. They can.
Really
see that
funny story. I'm at the show floor, and I met this guy. I was doing one of those video game things, and he does autism. So I called him today, and he goes, oh, I didn't have your number saved, but we were chatting. Yeah. He said, I really loved your energy, and I really loved what you're doing. His name's Andrew. I still have his business. I have these business cards on top of my.
He's got a big stack over there in the conference.
So we chatted, and he's like, yeah, I mean, I'd love to bring you in to speak in Orlando for a coaster
Yeah, I think, but the reason that I brought it up was I wanted to thank you guys for bringing Ben to the conference.
It was our pleasure.
Of course.
Because we, like, when me, mom, and dad, like, heard that you wanted to bring Ben, we're like, what? Like, thinking about it, like, this is crazy. Like, no way. And then, you know, obviously we knew there was going to be story after story from Ben coming back and what it was going to be like. But to have the chance to do that, I think Ben is kind of in this, like, cloud nine state where he, like, is used to these big events. But us as his family, we're always so thankful for, you know, the opportunities that Ben has to do things like this.
Then that's how I get speaking gigs.
Yeah, but also just, it was a super fun event that you got to participate in out of the kindness of their heart, which I think is amazing.
Yeah.
So thank you for letting him do that.
And then I have a Christmas card for you guys. I wrote you a really long note.
What's crazy is we're in the last 4 minutes, which is wild to think it's been an hour.
Yeah, that's crazy.
But what I like to do for the last couple of minutes is just leave the floor open to you guys. So I know you said you have something interesting to say, so I'll leave it for you.
Coming back on the flight, before we got on the plane, and before we did, we're standing in line, and this lady gets on the plane, or gets her ticket, and she's got 2 backpacks on her, and 2 children toddle on the plane with her, and then an elderly gentleman, and he's helping this young boy go through the ticket and walk down the jetway. And then another gentleman gets on, and he's got a teenager in tow, and they get on. Well, so then we get on, and as it turns out, when we got on the plane, the 2 children were in the right, or walking down the aisle with my back to the front of the plane. They were first 2 seats on the left, and then it was the mother and her mother-in-law, I believe it was. But on the left, or the left side of the plane, my right, walking away from the cockpit, there was this elderly gentleman and this child, this young boy, and then there was Ben was behind them, and then there was somebody behind Ben, and then we were behind the mother and the mother-in-law.
No, we were in front of Mom and Grandma.
Right, you're right. So we were sitting here, and Mom's making sure everybody's got their bag of goodies and their water bottles, and she's talking to the kids. And I said, "Look, why don't you just switch seats with us? And you can sit here, and we'll just change seats." And she was like, "Really?" And I said, "Yeah, that way you can be right with your kids in front of you." So we switched seats real quick when we had to break in the highway. And with that, she's talking to this young boy, and what turned out to be her father-in-law. And Ben said, "Excuse me." He said, "That's your son?" And she goes, "Yes." And he goes, and he points to his badge that he wears, and he says, "I'm autistic." And I recognize him, he is too.
It was amazing.
It was an amazing flight all the way back, because we ended up switching seats with her husband and her teenage daughter. They moved up so all of them could sit together.
Wow.
Which was great. I've done that before with plenty other times. But
just crying. Sorry, I'm just in tears. She's my friend on Facebook.
It was absolutely amazing to sit there and listen to Ben. And I have little earbuds in, and I'm watching a show, and then I'd take one out, and I would sit there and just watching Ben and this mother talk. And the things he told her, and she was making notes, and they were exchanging. He said, "This is my last book. I had it all week with me. I want you to have it." And of course, I yelled, "I want you to autograph it, Ben." Yeah. And which he did. But it was just amazing to see the connection they made. And
I texted Mom. Mom was like, "Oh my gosh."
And it was just amazing.
I'm sorry.
Probably the most.
I have tears on Ray's typical.
It will be one of the top memorable flights that I've ever taken.
Oh my gosh.
Wow.
It was just so sweet because Ben, remind me, her name's Ashley.
Yes.
So Ashley was, you could see, she was just overwhelmed. She had 4 children, her in-laws, her husband, and then her son who has...
Dylan. I think it was Dill. I think
Braden.
Thank you.
Her son with autism.
Braden has autism.
And you could just see how overwhelmed she was in this flight, trying, like Tom was saying, trying to make everybody comfortable.
Yeah. I couldn't stop crying either.
And but the 2 of them, that connection that they made, and then, when Tom and I offered to switch seats the first time and then the second time so their family could be together, she just lost it because, again, I'm sure as your parents know, sometimes you just get to that point and that breaking point, and the smallest gesture of, it's a plane. We're all going to the same place. We're going to get there together.
Right. You might get there ahead of us in the front row.
By 5 feet. Yeah. You guys should sit together. And so she
was a God thing.
Was so thankful. And then the fact that, that landed her with Ben, because when we did say switching, we said, listen, you can have these seats, but you have to be prepared. Ben's going to talk your ear off the whole flight.
And I did not put my headphones in once.
No, nope. And
2 hours.
They had a great conversation. And I told your mom,
wow,
a lunch date has got to be in your future with all of you. But it was so sweet because they are local. They're in
Warminster.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, Warrington or Warminster.
They're like right down the street.
That's amazing.
So it was pretty amazing. I actually reached out to American about that story.
Yeah, that's
American Airlines. I'm writing an email.
But no, that's amazing, and I actually hadn't heard that story. And that happens all the time. Where Ben, there's times we forget stories, or he doesn't know what he's told me and hasn't told me. But that's amazing. I love that so much.
Yeah, it was really special, and just to cap the week off of watching Ben and spending time with him.
It was amazing,
and it was really neat to see.
Yeah. It's crazy. It's 7:02 or 8:02, and the hour is gone. Real quick, thank you everybody for watching.
Thank you guys. This was the best show we ever had all year.
Our next show is the 24th,
and we have a big announcement. Dr. Temple Grandin's going to be on our show.
Yeah.
I actually...
Wow.
Really?
Yeah.
So I actually... so funny story. I'm at the hotel last night. We spent the night because we were speaking at a school, and I'm like, I need a guest for January. So I whipped out my phone. I said, I'm going to call Temple Grandin. I have her cell number. So I met her on Movie Chat. I called her, and she said, hello? And I said, is this Temple Grandin? And she goes, yes, it is. I said, Temple, this is Ben Hartriff. We met you on Movie Chat. He goes, oh, yeah, I remember you. And I said, Temple, I'd love to have you on my show. Is there any way you can come in January? And she goes, well, I'd rather do December. And I'm like, Temple, I don't know if I could do December. And then I said, what works for you? I said, Tuesdays are better. And she goes, can we do the 24th? And I'm like, okay, let's do the 24th. So she's really coming on the show. She's going to be here live. Not live in the studio. We're going to do a Zoom. Yeah. We're going to do a live Zoom. So tell your friends, tell your family members, and I'll make sure we spread the whole world out.
Yeah, so I was very shocked about that, but very exciting.
That's very cool.
That's very cool. I can't wait to tune in.
She's an amazing woman.
Yes, she is. But so thank you everybody for watching.
Merry Christmas
tune in on the 24th.
Happy New Year.
And we will see you in the new year.
And don't forget about Price is Right, January.
Yeah, that's true. Ben will be able to talk about it next episode. So maybe at the end we'll talk about it next episode.
Yeah.
But thank you again, everybody, and thank you guys for being here. We really appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you.